With their squishy wrists, pudgy thighs, and those cherubic little faces, babies can seem pretty angelic. Well, other people's babies can. Our own? Sometimes it's more just a loop of crying, exploding nappies, and strategic negotiations with hunger and gravity. But still, when we look at them cooing in our arms or beaming from a blanket, it seems obvious to say one thing: that babies trust us. They trust us to feed them, to change them, to hold them close and make the scary world seem just a little bit less scary. Seems natural, right? But here's where the philosopher in me starts poking at this obviousness. Can babies really trust us? Let's explore. In the philosophy of trust, we often talk about two different types of trust. First, we have generalised trust. This is very broad. It's the kind of thing you express when you say, I trust my partner, or I trust my doctor. No specific task, just a generalised attitude. And then we have relational trust, and this is specific. It takes the form, I trust someone to do this thing. So, to give you examples of both, I trust my wife is generalised. I trust my wife to save me the last biscuit is relational. Now the crucial thing is that these are not just different phrasings of the same thing. They're two different kinds of trust. And that's why I can say something like, I trust my wife, and also, I absolutely do not trust my wife to save me the last glass of wine. There's no contradiction between those two different things. So, what about babies? Let's take this back. Let's imagine a baby. We'll call her Melissa. She's swaddled, smiling, and in her parents' arms. It seems totally natural to say that she trusts them. But does she? Well, let's start off by thinking about this in terms of relational trust. First, what actually is relational trust? Well, as Catherine Hawley puts it, to trust someone to do something is to believe they have a commitment to doing it, and then to rely on them to meet that commitment. So, let's think again about baby Melissa. Does baby Melissa, for instance, trust her parents to feed her? Well, if Hawley's right, then that means that Melissa must believe her parents have a commitment to feeding her, and then rely on her parents to meet that commitment. Now, can Melissa, a baby, actually form the belief that her parents have a commitment to feeding her? Can she understand the idea of commitment at all? Seems a bit unlikely. I mean, let's be honest, that's a pretty high bar for someone who doesn't yet know that feet are a permanent feature of the world. So if relational trust requires all of that, beliefs, expectations, an understanding of the nature of commitment, then no, babies can't do that. But that doesn't mean they don't trust you. And this might be quite important. Just because babies can't form relational trust like this, baby Melissa can't trust her parents to feed her, that doesn't mean that they don't trust at all. They may well still show signs of generalised trust, a broad instinctive openness to caregivers, a sense of safety, or a readiness to attach. Okay, so there we have it. Babies have generalised trust, but they don't relationally trust. Except, if that's right, it's actually quite significant. Folks like Hawley and me think that generalised trust is built out of lots of instances of relational trust. So roughly, if I say I trust my wife, then what that really means is that I trust her relationally to do quite a lot of things, or perhaps the most important things. That's just what generalised trust is. And that makes the claims that babies can't relationally trust quite significant. Because if babies can generally trust without being able to do that relational trusting, then generalised trust can't just be built out of a bundle of specific relational trust. And so the case of babies challenges the view held by people like Hawley and me that generalised trust is just trusting someone to do lots of things. So babies, surprisingly, are a test case for how we are to understand trust at all. And much more practically, if we want to know how trust is built in families, in workplaces, in institutions, we need to know what kind of trust we're talking about. Because if we mistake one of them for the other, if we mistake generalised for relational trust, we risk expecting more than someone can offer us, or offering someone less than they deserve. Now, I'll say here that I'm not persuaded that babies do actually trust. I think they do something that looks a lot like trust, but the kind of dependence they have on parents and caregivers around them really only mimics trust. I think trust is a rich moral notion, and babies just aren't developed enough to be able to engage in that kind of moral activity. But what do you think? Can babies really trust us? Can they relationally trust us, generally trust us? Where do they fit in that kind of scheme? Is it fair to call their dependency trust, or is that just something that we project onto their adorable, squishy little faces? Drop your thoughts into the comments. I would love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this, hit like, subscribe, and stick around for more videos on trust, ethics, and everyday philosophy. Thanks for watching, and trust carefully, and be especially careful around the babies.